Hello there, welcome back to my continuing series on the UK versus the USA. Having looked at successful remakes, I thought it was time we turned our attention to one of the bad ones. Perhaps one of the worst ones, as this British show was remade for American audiences on 3 separate occasions, and failed on 3 separate occasions, over 20 years. The show in question is Fawlty Towers. Written by John Cleese and his then-wife Connie Booth, and starring Cleese as cynical, sarcastic, quick-tempered snob Basil Fawlty.
Where is the post office?
It's there where it says post office. I'm sorry if it's confusing. Oh, good. Well, that'll be nice, won't it? I mean, we waited for that wall about as long as Hadrian.
And Booth as the long-suffering maid Polly.
What's that smell?
Flowers. I just got them from the garden.
Well, what are you stinking the place out with those for? What's up with the plastic ones?
With Pradella Scales as Basil's intimidating and forceful wife Sybil.
Shall I deal with this, Basil?
I'm dealing with it, dear.
No, dear, that's all right. Now you wanted 2 singles.
I said I'd deal with it.
Do you mind sharing a bathroom?
And Andrew Sachs as clueless Spanish waiter Manuel.
I know nothing.
It's set in a hotel on the English south coast, the Fawlty Towers of the title, owned and managed by Basil, who shows nothing but contempt for his guests unless they are of a higher social status, and also features a few permanent residents who are recurring characters. It only lasted 12 episodes over 2 series in the UK, but left a lasting impression, becoming one of the most beloved sitcoms. The show was broadcast in the US on PBS, and although it had a loyal following, it didn't have a large following, so a US remake was always on the cards. The first of these, Snavely, in 1978, was a fairly faithful remake with Harvey Korman as the Basil Fawlty character and Betty White as the Sybil character, Henry and Gladys Snavely. But it never got past pilot. The style was different enough that it wasn't quite as acerbic as the UK version, which meant it became just another generic sitcom with not particularly well-defined characters. The biggest issue that pilot had was in the tonal shifts in Harvey Korman's character, who switches between very mean, very camp, and very goofy, sometimes within the same scene.
You are not going to hang him in the lobby again.
I am so when I find the hammer. Where'd you hide it?
The next attempt came 5 years later with Amanda's in 1983, and in a bold move made the choice to get rid of the main character, Basil Fawlty, instead focusing on B. Arthur's Amanda as the main character, and combining some of Basil and Sybil's dialogue and characterization. She was joined by son and daughter-in-law characters, and the first and only season had 13 episodes, more than the original show, although was cancelled before the last 3 aired. Its problems stemmed from Amanda not having anyone to spar with in that husband and wife dynamic, and Amanda herself being quite a bland character as a result.
This is between us. If it is between you, do not broadcast it all over my dining room. You're disturbing the guests.
The third, and so far final attempt to remake Fawlty Towers was with Payne in 1999, which only made it to 9 episodes, one of which remained unaired. It brought back the Basil character in Royal Payne, played by John Larroquette, and his wife Constance, played by Jo Beth Williams. The criticism of that show was that Payne was actually too unlikable, not pathetically cynical, just boorish.
Oh look, Baywatch, the cellulite years.
It was another safer remake that was mostly just unremarkable, despite the talented cast, something all 3 versions suffered from. A talented cast, but in an unremarkable sitcom. They tried to be like Fawlty Towers and different from Fawlty Towers in the wrong way. What I mean by that is, if you are making a show for American audiences, Rather than making the characters American versions of the British characters, you have to reinvent them as American stereotypes, something which we'll see will reoccur in UK remakes too. Basil is a stereotype of bad managers that everyone in the UK will have met, and Sybil is a long-established stereotype of the domineering wife that permeated British media. But in each of the US remakes, the characters remained these sorts of British stereotypes, rather than reinvented as American stereotypes. They weren't recognisable to an American audience, so the audience failed to connect with them on any level. And that's a shame, as the central concept is rich with comedic potential. But it was not meant to be.
Welcome, my dear.